This is Cuda Chronicles with the Burlington Junior Barracudas and your host, Jerred Bapty.
I guess it was daylight savings last night, eh?
Yeah.
I actually watched the hour disappear.
What time did it change at?
I think it was at 2.
Did you purposely stay up to watch that?
No, I was editing and hanging out with a friend virtually, but it was really heartbreaking to just suddenly watch that hour vanish. And truly, I mean, how useful is daylight savings even? Like,
I don't see the point to it.
well, yeah, like what does it do for either of you?
Just messes up sleep.
Exactly. They don't even pay attention to it in out west. You know, it's stupid, but you know, it's not stupid how we're back at practice, right? How we doing with that?
It's good so far, I think. Yeah.
We had like defense and forward separated this week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Avery, were you working on like systems and stuff, a lot of stuff like that?
Yeah, like breaking out of the zone and like shooting from the point, just stuff like defense specifically. I won't say it's the most interesting stuff, but it's definitely really important to do.
You mean you're not interested in things you do for your position?
No, I am interested. It's just
okay.
I don't know. It's good. It's the important stuff to work on. So
Right.
It's fun.
Maddie, what was the focus for the offense?
It was a lot of like forward skills, I guess. Did some skating patterns at the beginning yesterday, and then we did some one-on-one kind of battles. And earlier in the week, we were doing like attacks, like if you were on like a 3-on-2 or something. And it's been like a year since like any of us has done any of that kind of stuff. So it was kind of, I don't know, we were kind of rusty at first, but it was fun to get back to that kind of stuff.
Is that kind of what you've missed most about working on? Is there something else that you want to work on more?
No, I just getting back to like stuff like that, like back to like game type situations, kind of fun to get back to, because like all of us haven't played a real game in like a year.
Well, we have our fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Probably not March, but I mean, you know, April, maybe. Lots of hoping, lots of praying. Welcome everyone to Cuda Chronicles. This is episode 4. We took a hiatus last week. Our players were particularly busy with schoolwork and stuff like that. But we are back this week and we're all dressed up. I'm back with the suit jacket and our players are wearing something other than their team sweaters because we have the Mayor of Burlington on coming up in a few minutes. She'll be joining us. Her Worship Marianne Meed Ward will be with us, and I'll introduce her in a few minutes. But we're very excited to have her on, and we're going to talk about her involvement with sports in Burlington, what we can do as an organization to support her, what she can do to support us. It's going to be very a joint movement, and she's actually just joined us now, which is perfect. We'll welcome in her Worship, Marianne Meed Ward, and I like the jersey you've got on there.
Got my name on it and everything.
Very nice.
I love it. I've got the pin, and I'm so thrilled to have it, and I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for having me.
Where did you get the pin? Because I need one for right here.
It came with the jersey, so I had some people give it to me when I was first elected, so I was very excited about that.
Well, I'll have to talk to Chani then about
Yeah.
filling this empty lapel I have here with a nice pin. I was just actually introducing everybody. So we've got Maddie Suitor and Avery Muhn back, who were on the first episode of Cuda Chronicles. Well, I'll start off with the first question. And It's very general, but we just want to know kind of what brought you to Burlington, or why Burlington means so much to you, and how much it means for you to be now the mayor of such a great little city.
That's a great question. So the short and there's a short and a long answer. The short answer is that I love the natural environment and the outside, and I love the waterfront. And so I wasn't born in Toronto, but I was living and working in Toronto when my husband and I had started our family. We had a 2-year-old, and I was pregnant with twins. And we wanted to find a place that we felt comfortable raising our family. And we used to come out and hike on the Bruce Trail, go to the conservation areas. We would drive all the way from Toronto to come out, and then we'd go down to the waterfront. We would go to Emma's back porch and sit and have a drink and food. And it was just an incredible experience. And so we started looking around very seriously for, maybe we want to actually move here and raise our family here. And so that's what we ended up doing in 2000. My twins were born here, and my daughter was 2 when we moved here, and they're now in their 20s. So we've been here for 21 years, coming up to 21 years, the longest I've lived anywhere. And some of you will know my background. I was actually born in the US. My dad's Canadian, my mom's American, and my dad was studying in the US, married my mom, had kids, and then they wanted to raise their family in Canada. So that's where I've grown up, Ontario. And I've lived in cities that reminded me a lot of Burlington. So Kingston, I was there until grade 9. Ottawa, I did the balance of high school and university, got my first job in Toronto. And when I think about Kingston and Ottawa in particular, they're towns with water or waterfront. They have a lot of heritage and history. Kingston especially was a small enough community that you could get to know your neighbors, and that was really important to me. So Burlington reminded me a lot of Kingston and Ottawa, even though Ottawa was a bigger town. When I used to go downtown to the Byward Market, I would always run into people I knew. And so it felt like that community spirit. And I can tell you, when we moved to Burlington, as we were moving in, our neighbors brought us banana bread to welcome us, homemade banana bread to welcome us to the neighborhood. And we eventually moved downtown Burlington to be closer to the water and a more walkable community than where we were living at the time. And in that case, our neighbors brought us chocolate chip cookies, homemade chocolate chip cookies, and a fruit tree, like instead of a flower basket, a fruit tree. So I can tell you that Burlington has lived up to every dream that I had about what it meant to have a community of people who care for each other, know each other's names, look out for each other, welcome each other to a new community, and then of course surrounded by these 2 gorgeous bookends or waterfront, the Niagara Escarpment, and a historic community in between. So I absolutely love this. This is my home by choice, and nowhere I'd rather live and raise my family.
A lot of famous governments in Kingston and Ottawa as well, right? So
absolutely, yes.
that and of course Emma's back porch, a wonderful little establishment that unfortunately is no longer. We actually had a party for an end of year party, not with this organization, but I've been with the Burlington Barracudas for 4 years, and earlier on in my time with them, we had an end of year party at Emma's back porch. So it's near and dear to the Burlington community, and unfortunately is no longer with us. But
one of the pandemic casualties, yes, very, very challenging.
One of many, and I'll let the girls kind of get into that in a minute. I'll turn it over to them after this question. I'd love to hear, or we'd all love to hear a bit about your background in sports, and then kind of how that's coming into your government as well.
That's a great question too. I was actually involved in competitive gymnastics as a young girl, and I loved it. I loved the movement. I loved the balance. You have to learn, to have good posture. I was an introvert. People probably find that very hard to believe. My best friends were books. when I was growing up. And so through gymnastics and movement, I could sort of express myself and come out of my shell a little bit. And that was great for me. And I did win a number of local competitive tournaments, and it teaches you how to be comfortable with failure. You don't win every time. It teaches you to keep trying. One of the stories that my dad used to tell about me all the time was I loved the uneven bars, the floor, and the balance beam were my favorite. I was a little scared of the vault. Running really fast at something and flipping around kind of made me a little nervous. So I found the ones that I felt comfortable with, and the uneven bars were one of my favorite. And I was trying to master a move, and you'd swing and swing around between all the bars, and it was a complicated and difficult move, and I was trying to master it for an upcoming tournament. And I kept going, I kept trying and chalk, you chalk your hands so you don't slip. And I did master the move. And the last few times that I did it, the last time I did it, I just shredded my hands because I'd been trying so hard. So there were blisters that were building up under the chalk, and I shredded my hands, and I had to get all bandaged up and went home. And my dad loves telling that story of looking at my shredded hands when I came home. And so he was so proud. He was so proud of the persistence that I didn't give up and that I mastered the move. And then I did go on to win that tournament. And that was just, it was a lot of things in there. I know all of you can relate to what it's like to practice, to be injured, to work through the pain, to keep trying when you're not able to get it the first time. And those are life skills. Those aren't just sports skills, those are life skills. And then I left competitive gymnastics when I hit puberty. It's real hard to do those moves when you start to develop as a woman. So I went into other types of sports, but never at that level since then.
And so I'll just jump in again. What are you doing now as mayor of Burlington to help kind of continue the growth of Burlington sports?
Well, I certainly advocate for funding for sports, work very closely, promote. So I've got my nice jersey on here. Thank you for that. Promote sports. And we have been in very close contact throughout the pandemic with our partners at the provincial level, our local MPPs, to make sure that as soon as is possible from a health and safety standpoint, that sport activities can reopen for team play. So we've been very supportive of the staged approach, and wherever possible, allowing sport activities to occur. In the early days of the pandemic, when we really didn't know what we were dealing with, of course, the province had their state of emergency. We had a state of emergency, and everything just got shut down for a period of time. And then we looked to find a way with our Parks and Rec staff, with our medical officer of health, with our provincial partners to reopen as quickly as we could in a safe way. And I know we're still not quite out of the woods on all of that yet. There's still restrictions on team play and sports play for a little while longer. I know that is really tough, but I also know that organizations have been really creative in finding ways for elite athletes to still train and practice and keep in shape even amidst all the restrictions. So we certainly support that, and we're also looking to see, do we need more sporting facilities here? That's an ongoing conversation that we are having in terms of certainly ice time or community center space or any of our parks and recreation facilities. We want to make sure that we keep up to a growing community, and I think we need more. So it's an ongoing conversation. Stay tuned on that in terms of what might be coming next.
Yes, I'm done. So go ahead, girls.
Okay. What have been some of the challenges of COVID specifically to the City of Burlington, like balancing economics versus safety?
Well, that balancing act is really tough, right? And obviously the first and foremost consideration is keeping people healthy, keeping people alive. This is a deadly virus for some folks, not all who get it, but for some it is, and you don't really know how it's going to affect you. You know, nobody really knows how it's going to affect you. And I can remember a couple of days before I declared the state of emergency in the City of Burlington, which we're coming up to that 1-year anniversary soon on March 21st of this year is the 1-year anniversary. And it was a couple of days before that that a fellow in Milton got COVID, and we were still, you know, everyone was still figuring out what this meant, and he was gone within a couple of days. And I just remember how hard that hit me. I didn't know him, but his wife and widow spoke so powerfully after that happened to say, take this seriously and do everything you can to keep people alive and keep people safe. And that was one of a number of factors that I was thinking about when we declared the state of emergency here. It is an extended state of emergency. We have never had anything like this in generations. State of emergency that has extended coming up to a year and beyond, because even with the vaccine, we know it will take some time to roll it out to the entire population. So we're not out of the woods yet. But so as this got extended over a period of time, we realized there are other, I'll call it other pandemics happening. We have a mental health pandemic, the impact of isolation, the impact of not being able to engage in sports and team sports. And you think about how much that builds your, your self-esteem and your camaraderie to be with other people, and just your well-being, and not to be able to do that has been a significant toll for an extended period of time. And then the economic impact, we just talked about the loss of some businesses and people losing jobs, losing livelihoods. So as this started to extend over a longer period of time, we realized that the health considerations had to be also considered alongside mental health and well-being, social well-being, and economic well-being, so that we didn't inadvertently create this other pandemic while trying to deal with the health pandemic. And we will get out of the health considerations sooner than we will be. That's my dog Boston. Hello, Boston. But we will be out of the health concerns sooner than we'll be out of the impacts, the long-term impacts of the mental health considerations and economic considerations. So I can tell you now, a year into this, those are the three things that we think about very deeply when we make decisions. And when we do advocacy, because as you know, a lot of this is decided for us at the federal and provincial levels. And even at the regional level, that's where our public health unit is. And so we have a role to play, but a lot of those decisions are made. So we have an advocacy role at that point. And we have advocated on many occasions, as you probably know, for not being rolled into lockdown, for reopening where we felt that the health indicators warranted, and we could start to balance some of those other things.
Just the next question. I know you kind of talked about this a bit already, but when do you see the return to sport for the city, or like specifically like hockey, maybe like playing games, even like recreational and in high schools as well?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm hoping it's soon. And I think these are some of the indicators that will have to occur before I think people will feel safe doing that again. So, first of all, these decisions aren't made by the city, right? It's really important to note that those decisions about what is allowed to be open or what must remain closed are made at the provincial level. And certainly the city can advocate, but those decisions are not in our hands to make. So the province, we work very closely with the province to try and give them information or to advocate, but it is their decision to make. And in some cases, and I'm sure in your cases, there are sport governing bodies that have also added additional guidance to their teams and people that are members of the sport organizing bodies. So I can remember early in the pandemic, and really throughout the pandemic, there was a higher level of restriction that was rolled out in some cases by the sport governing bodies. So you had the province, you had the sport governing bodies, and really the city was in a we were simply doing what we were all told at that point. And then our facilities were closed, again, not by us, but by the provincial government and by provincial order. So we're of course willing to do our part on that, but those decisions are made at other tables. Having said that, we have certainly advocated that decisions be made on significant health evidence and transparent criteria. So the public has a right to know, when you close or you say team sports can't happen, what are you looking at? What are the health criteria, and what would the health indicators need to be to reopen that? And those are really good and valid questions for all of us to be asking. Certainly the Halton mayors and chair have asked that question. And so to answer your question, when do I think a return will happen? One of the indicators will, I think, be the critical mass of people who have been able to be vaccinated. So we know that will help to obviously provide a level of protection to people. And so, good news is vaccine clinics are opening. Both of Burlington's are opened as of today. And as we get more vaccines from the federal government, the province decides who gets what when. And then our public health unit puts the needles in the arms. So as that starts to roll out with more vaccinations, I think that soon all of us will be in line at some point for that. And once folks are vaccinated and there's a level of safety for gameplay, that's when we'll start to see those restrictions being lifted by the province, by the public health unit, and by the sport governing bodies. Soon, we hope.
I know you mentioned before, like building more rinks and recreational centers, but with like the growth of women's hockey, how do you think the city can accommodate for like the increase in demand for ice time?
That is always a struggle. We always have more demand for ice time, particularly at peak hours, right? The prime time hours and any more, as you've probably experienced, prime time can extend to 10, 11 o'clock at night, because that's when people can get ice time. And so it has been an ongoing challenge in the city. And as we have grown in population as a city, it has just become more of a challenge. And as elite sports, I was just so impressed and really proud when I read the growth of the Barracudas and the fact that 9 of you are part of an elite team. And that's, when there's only 50 across the country that are eligible and 9 right here in Burlington. I mean, it was, and so many other statistics that you shared with me in advance of this. I just so proud. And it's like a secret. It's like a well-kept secret in Burlington, how amazing our women's team is. And, certainly I am a huge supporter of women entering non-traditional and in some cases male-dominated fields, and this is another one. And so I'm so proud of this team. I'm so proud of the accomplishments, and absolutely want to support you and to support this sport in our community.
Just to follow up on that one, what are some of the things that the City of Burlington have been doing to support the women's growth in, like, not just hockey, but all sports across the city?
So we really work very closely with our community members and look where the demand is. And so we have a lot of youth and elite sport that is growing in Burlington, and hockey is one example. At the other end of the spectrum, we have some new newer sports emerging amongst our seniors population, which is also a growing demographic. So huge demand for pickleball, where there never used to be. And so it's interesting how demand changes in some different groups. And so we have to respond as a city and provide more space and accommodation for those emerging and new sports, and to recognize the increased demand. And so that eventually gets translated into space or ice time in your case, or for example, the pickleball, just because it's top of mind, we've built more courts and transferred some with lines. It's slightly different painted lines than tennis. We've repurposed some of that. So sometimes it's a quicker fix to transition where the demand is. Sometimes in the case of building a new arena, it's a longer fix. But we do have a new arena coming, and that's Skyway. It has been on the books and still is for a number of years, and we are looking for upper level government funding. We're short about 15 million, so we need them to help us. But that's probably, as you're aware, that's an older arena. We have to decommission it because it has old cooling systems that are being phased out for environmental reasons. They won't be legal. And so taking an opportunity to really repurpose and rebuild, it will be an NHL size, competition size rink with proper training and a warming area, which there wasn't before, and locker rooms and so forth. So when that comes online, and we'll get it done, we just have to keep lobbying. In fact, I just sent a letter of advocacy to get that funding last week. So we're always in conversation with our federal and provincial governments to help us with funding, because we can't do all these things alone. It's very expensive, as you know, to rebuild or recreate a brand new facility. But we're not done with that. I know that the demand is there in our community, and it's only going to increase because we are a growing city. We're expected to grow by 50 to 100,000 people over the next couple of decades, and so we need to keep up with that demand.
I mean, I don't know about you girls, but that sounds like a nice new home for the Burlington Barracudas, right? Beautiful facility, training, all that fun
Net
stuff.
zero. It's going to have a walking track. It's an incredible facility. So I do invite you to look at the plans online, and we will continue to advocate and make sure that we get some funding to see it through.
Awesome. I just had to jump in there with that comment. Avery, continue on.
So we talked about what the city can do to support us, but what are some things that our team can do to support the city and set growth?
So you are already doing incredible things in the community. Again, in some of the background work that I did read, thank you for sending some information in advance. But you're already so involved in the community, helping with the Friday night community dinner, the meal bag program, helping with the gift of giving back. Still the country's largest youth-driven food drive anywhere. Started right here in Burlington. I know several of you have gone on international trips to do charitable work overseas, and so much more that I could, and you know what they are, but just incredible efforts to give back to the community. We're so grateful, and it's just so inspiring to see young people, because you're busy too, right? You're going to school, you're elite athletes, you're training, and to take additional time to give back to the community is so valued and appreciated, and also keep advocating for what you need, and because we don't always know how things are unfolding. Talk to us, talk to your elected officials, talk to your ward councillor, tell us about your ideas for increasing access to sporting facilities. What are the challenges that you're facing? What are your ideas? We're very receptive and open, and in fact, some of our facilities, I'm thinking, for example, of the soccer domes at Sherwood Forest Park. That was a community group, several that came forward and approached the city and said, we need to do this. The demand is there, and they helped to fundraise for it. So this is how some of our facilities, Appleby Ice Rink is another, our ice user groups were key in providing funding to help build those. So you can be active contributors in terms of identifying what you need and coming forward with fundraising efforts, which you already know how to do really well.
What does the future of Burlington sports look like for you?
So we have sports at all levels in Burlington, and I think that's one of our secret sauce, if you will. It's one of the strengths that we have. So we have not only sort of the beginner level, try out a sport, see which one works for you, and reduce as many barriers to people just trying, young kids trying sports, and right up to adults, right? You're never too old or too young to get involved in sports gameplay, and the benefits to your physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and social health are so significant, and the life lessons, right? How to deal with competition, how to deal with loss, how to have the courage to go out and try something. And some of my favorite quotes about life come from sports, one of which from Wayne Gretzky, who said, "You miss every shot you don't take," right? So it encourages all of us to try our best all the time. So the value of sport is there. So we want as many people to get involved and try it. So we have a huge focus in our sports across all different sports for sort of that learn and try philosophy, so that we reduce as many barriers, financial as well. We have funding for folks that need assistance in paying for fees, and through COVID, we've actually reduced fees or provided grants for families that needed those, as well as sport groups that were having a hard time making their own programs profitable because the numbers had to be so significantly reduced due to COVID. And then we have right up to the elite play. And that is also really important. We have elite athletes in swimming, we have elite athletes in soccer, in hockey, just to name a few. And while there are fewer athletes, obviously in those, that are at the elite level, we want to make sure that we're welcoming and provide that opportunity as well. And it is a balancing act between the two, but I'm very interested in Sports Center of Excellence, in encouraging that elite play, given especially when we see some of our athletes going on to the NHL, going on to universities for women's hockey, just incredible talent here that we want to support and kind of shout it from the rooftops. So we'll continue, I think, to support right through the whole range from beginner to elite here in Burlington, and in as many sports as we can, including new and emerging sports.
Well, some very inspirational words, not just from other big mentors that we know, but you yourself as a powerful woman in a leadership role. I want to ask for your advice to young women trying to break through into other leadership roles, wherever they may be looking or wherever they're interested in. What advice you'd give them?
So politics is a male-dominated field still, as you probably know, and so I can relate a lot to young women being in hockey. So there are less than 30% of all elected officials at all levels in Canada are women. That's whether it's federal, provincial, or municipal or school board. And we are 56th in the world in terms of the whether there's an equitable balance of women and men in politics. So we got some work to do there. When you look at mayors across the country, only 18% of mayors across this country are women. So we still have a lot of work to do. And this is 100 years after women got the right to vote, right? So you would have thought we would have made more progress than that, but that's where we're at. And so it really, I really try to encourage and inspire more women to consider politics as a career, but also consider any non-traditional endeavors in it, whether it's a career in, say the sciences, skilled trades. There's still not as many women as men there, or in sports, like what you are trying to do. And but it's not easy. And so my, I guess, words of encouragement to women is, don't be afraid of failure. Don't be afraid to lose. And I think the advantage that young women in sports have is that you're trained when you lose, because you're not going to win every game. If you're an elite athlete in an individual sport like gymnastics, you're not going to win every tournament or every medal. And so it's kind of built into what you have to do to get comfortable with losing and to figure out how to keep going. And some of you will know that I ran and lost twice, 2 elections, before I won my first, and then won 3 in a row. So, and I can say winning is better than losing. It feels better than losing. But I also know that I learned incredible things from losing those first 2 elections, and they actually set me up for success later. So I think finding the good and the value even in those losses is really important. Being persistent, not giving up. I can't even imagine the barriers that you women have faced to get where you are. And so you've been persistent, and that's great, because it is so hard to keep going, especially when you hit those spots of resistance or where things didn't work out the way you wanted to figure out how to keep going. And that's really at bottom, to know what your passion is. And I can say that the 2 elections I lost really did reveal to me personally that this was something I wanted to do. And so that helped me to keep going. And I think as you progress in your sport, whatever that is, you'll find out whether it's something that you really feel passionately about and want to continue. And if the answer is yes, then don't let anything get in the way of you pursuing that.
You truly find your passion when it's the furthest away from you.
It's an interesting statement.
Unless the girls, Avery and Maddie, have anything else to add. No? Okay. Well, I want to thank you, Mayor, for joining us this afternoon. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on and tell us a little bit about what's going on with Burlington sports, and how our players can break into leadership roles. Thank you.
Delighted to be here. Thank you so much. And anytime you have ideas for me, I do like to hear from our young people. And mayor@burlington.ca, don't be afraid to reach out to an elected official ever. And certainly the door is open for me. So if you have ideas or suggestions for how I can support you and we can support you, please let us know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was great to be here.
All right, so that was the mayor, Her Worship Marianne Meed Ward, and we want to thank her again for joining us, obviously, out of her busy schedule, to chat with us a little bit on a very sunny, lovely Sunday afternoon. And I don't know about the two of you, but I'm suddenly very excited for this new facility. I mean, I personally, I'm not from Burlington, so I don't know as much about what's going on in the city. So that was really cool, and I'm pushing now immediately for that to be our new home.
Yeah.
Been like a plan for a while. I've heard about it a long time ago, but
I was gonna say, she said Skyway, and I went, oh, okay. I think I actually know about that.
it's a terrible rink right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the place that I guess most of us started playing hockey. So it's kind of exciting to see it get revamped, I guess. Like, I know Kindits played there a lot
yeah.
when people started. Yeah.
It sounds like
all the girls on the team.
What was that,
started-
Avery?
Probably all of the Burlington girls on the team started playing hockey there.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's a rink close to the waterfront in Hamilton called Eastwood. I don't know if you've had the pleasure of playing in that actual ice box. It's literally just a big metal container with an ice rink in it, and that's it. And it is frigid and old and sad. But that's kind of what I am envisioning now, where you all started playing.
Yeah, it was small, cold. We have a lot of 6 a.m. practices there
Ooh, yeah,
back in the day, and it was always not fun.
the
A lot of
classic,
memories there.
Yeah, for sure.
the classic really early practices.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that is a really exciting initiative, and just how open she is to accepting folks coming forward to give initiatives or ideas, things like that. I don't know. Have the two of you already got something that you want to send her?
I don't know. I got to think about it for a little bit, I think. I don't know.
I was really like excited about like new ideas and like youth getting involved and stuff like that, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you again to the mayor for joining us, and it's just so nice to have politicians do stuff like that, because a lot of the time you kind of see this almost this barrier, right, where yes, they're open to the public, but not necessarily as, I don't know, inviting, I guess. I don't know. This is also just a perception that I have, and is absolutely totally wrong for so many people, but I'm just rambling on. We'll just close out. The Leafs played last night. They lost again. Probably shouldn't have lost again. But on the opposite side of things, and I'm only doing this because we have Maddie here, who's the NHL expert on our team. But
Yeah.
the Wings have been winning.
Kind of. I don't know.
Right?
They seem to play good against Tampa Bay for some reason. And it's so bizarre because Tampa Bay's like one of the best teams in the league, and Detroit's like one of the worst this year. And they beat them like 6-4, I think, the other night. So.
Well, there's always one team, right? There's always one bad team that just eats somebody alive.
Yeah, it's true.
Like for the Leafs, it seems to be the Senators. Last year, the Wings always, like, they swept the Canadians
Yeah.
in their series, right? Who was there a team last year that really just like a team lower in the standings that really just got you last year for the Barracudas?
I gotta think about that for a second. I don't know.
Because
Well,
I'm kind of trying to think too.
I know. There was one that we tied, I think, but who was that? Oh, Barry. We tied Barry one time.
Yeah, and they were a
It
little
was
bit
their
lower
home
on the
opener.
standings.
Yeah. Yeah, it was their home opener, and it was not good. That's for sure. We came back. I think we were losing at first, but I think that might be the team. I don't know.
Also, just playing at home, y'all seem to have a hard time with that. Don't know
Yeah.
why.
The Ottawa teams actually got us both.
Yeah, that Ottawa road trip hurt.
Ottawa, they beat us at home, and then we lost to them when we went to them, and then same with Nepean, we lost to them twice.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the only two teams I don't think that we ended up like getting a point against.
And Ottawa was the home opener as well.
Yeah, that
for
hurt.
us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big hoopla, and then just kind of
Mm-hmm.
play.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Anyways, I think we'll end it there. Any final comments for the mayor or anything like that?
Not really, just thank you again.
Yeah.
Well, yes, we'd like to thank the mayor, and we thank you for listening. We've got lots going on again as we ramp up because we're out of lockdown. Hooray. We're already in production for our 6th episode of Rise of the Cuda. This is going to feature Avery and our rookies, our 4 young players who've joined our team for the first time. And, well, of course, I say the first time, but 3 of you have been called up multiple times last year. So it's the official roster spots for all of you, right? They'll be on the next episode of Rise of the Cuda. Will be coming out at least in the next couple of weeks. The official release date is to be announced. But in the next couple of weeks, we're already in production of that. This podcast, of course, will be returning to a weekly schedule. We had a hiatus last week. By the way, how is the schoolwork? That's what I was going to do.
It's okay.
Things lightening up a little bit.
A little bit. I kind of have some harder classes right now, so it's been tougher. But yeah, I had 1 week where I had like tests like back-to-back days and assignments in both classes, and it was really stressful, but it's getting better now, I guess.
My classes aren't too hard. It's just it'll be like a week of nothing and then a week with like 4 projects and stuff.
Because none of the teachers coordinate and assign everything at the same time, right?
There's too many students in different classes to do that. So
nice. So you just get everything at once. Anyways, yes. This podcast will be back. We've got lots of stuff coming up. We had our outdoor day a few weeks ago. We're starting to put out more stuff about that because we mic'd up 3 of our players for each of the sessions that we had. So that's going to be coming out soon. And I think that's it. We'll have a few episodes of Rise of the Cuda coming up as well, but the next one will be out in a couple of weeks. Other than that, I'm Jerred Bapty for Maddie Suitor and Avery Muhn. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Cuda Chronicles.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Cuda Chronicles. You can follow the Burlington Junior Barracudas on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Junior Cudas. That's at JRCUDAS. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and keep updated on future episodes of Cuda Chronicles and Rise of the Cuda. We'll see you right here next Sunday on Cuda Chronicles.